Hello guys, it's Unders, and today we're taking a look at Audified ToneSpot. So I'm just going to essentially put this on a bass track in this track that I worked on here. I built this up on a live stream, I believe. I think we started in Machine, which is why it's all audio, ended up in here. Oh no, it started in FL Studio, and it's ended up in here as all audio to be mixed down. And I did the CL8 Mix Hub mix down in it. And yeah, we're just going to try this out on the bass and see if we can help it stick out a little bit in the mix here. So what we'll do, we'll take this busy section over here and we'll loop that. And we're going to take all of the processing off the master that I was just messing around with. So let's break this down. If we start up in the top left, firstly we've got a channel select, meaning we can switch between the left and right independently or have stereo going all on its own. We've then got an input control, nothing too special. We can drop it down by 18, we can push it up by 18. Where it becomes a little bit more special is we've got the AGC next to it, automatic gain control. By having that switched on, it disables the input and the plugin itself will take control. Gliding across our preset section here, if we have a look at the first bit, my favorite feature on just about anything, it says 100%. If I click on here, I can go to 150. Hooray! So I don't have to zoom in for you guys the entire time. Equally, if you're for some reason working in the 90s and you want a tiny display because you're still working 800 by 800, you can do this tiny little guy right here. We'll go to 150 for this video. We can go through our presets in here, but we're not going to do those right now. We're going to try and actually build something. And again, for output control, we've got auto gain control. We'll switch that on and we're just going to ignore the input and output sections. Right at the top, we've got a power switch. We could automate the process on and off nice and seamlessly without causing clicks and pops by disabling the plugin. Right along the bottom is where we've got our real section here that gives us all of our sound shaping abilities. It runs left to right in terms of a signal flow. So we're starting over here with character, and this is essentially just the sound design factors we can take in, and well, character, it's going to start with our emulation. So let's have a quick listen to what we've got so far. If I solo out the bass, we'll have a switch between the growl scoop lo-fi, vintage, natural, modern. Now, while vintage is without a doubt there got the most character, modern for me is the nicest sound. Now, these guys here, we can enable all three at once or just one at a time. So I'm just going to systematically go through them here. Cool, so a combination of modern, growl, and lo-fi is giving us kind of a nice sound. Next section here, which is SBG, that is a sub-bass generator, very similar to the trick I do with R-bass by adding a sub-harmonic. Now there's already a good hefty sub on this bass, so I don't think we're going to utilize it, so we'll probably keep it on 0%, but let's have a listen to what it would do. Yeah, there's already a lot of sub in this track, so we're just going to bring the cutoff right down and the intensity down to 0. We don't really need that in this instance. So next is valve saturation, just labeled as saturation. We've got a gain control, a boost, and a mix. Now there, we're gaining it quite hard and boosting it. It's adding quite a bit of extra high frequency harmonics because the saturation is going to add lots of extra harmonics. We're getting some more high end that we didn't have before. It's going to be our decision whether or not we decide to keep it. Yeah, I kind of like it. You would have noticed there, hopefully, that when I switch the power off, it snaps out and is far more stereo. That seems to be how this particular plugin is working. So despite the fact that everything's quite stereo, when it goes into this, it becomes pretty mono, even though we're, not in a solo channel, it is in stereo. So next, shaping. This is a nice broadband style EQ. With set frequency points and set areas that we can put in, and useful high cut and low cut as well. Next we've got punch. This is going to be a slow compressor. And it's nice that we've got a mix control here, so we could slam it quite hard, give it a little bit of makeup, and then just blend it back in with the original. Something like that. It's giving control to the weight, but you've still got the attack getting through nicely. Now we've got the attack speeds on here. It still says fast and slow, but this punch is generally going to be slower regardless of how we look at it, whereas the smash one here is going to be much quicker. We've then got some surgery EQ in between the two, and these are going to be nice narrow bands, really useful for cutting away any frequency that's become unpleasant, and we've got an extreme high Q we can enable as well. There you go. So when we've oversaturated, we've made some sort of unpleasant areas here around the 2000 to 200 marker. We could just gain that away with a nice high Q. Now I currently like the way this is moving and the weight it's got, so we're not going to use the smash compressor here. And lastly, we've got some effects that we can look at. The octaver is going to be quite useful if we use a blend of it. In certain situations, really helpful. If this has been used on a recorded DI bass, you can get a nice feeling of the strings effectively like being plucked and tweaked by using this. And you can kind of emulate that feel here, even in this sound. Then got an auto wah as well. And let's just sync it for 1/4 to demo it. I don't think I've synced this project to tempo, so it might not work. And lastly, chorus, flanger, and phaser, which I would hope don't need too much explanation right there. And right at the end, we've got an enhancer. So essentially, it's going to work like a limiter for us. But it is a multi-band limiter at the end. So if we've got lots of low end, it's mainly going to compress and limit the low end without affecting the rest of the signal. Depending on what kind of parameters we use as well, we can actually enable fat, tight, and smooth all at the same time. So tight there for me is giving like quite a nice twang to the sound. Now I'm losing a lot of the stereo effect that I work quite hard to achieve in this bass. So what I would do to maintain that is instead put this onto its own bus. So my two parts here that make up the bass sound are these two orange ones here, and you can see they're panned hard left and right because they came out as audio. And they worked fine in mono. So what I'll do here is make a bus and we'll call this bass mids. We'll take it off of the bus here and we'll pop it into here. And we'll send the bass mids back into the bass bus as well. We'll then use the control here. And now we should have a really in-depth mid section and still retain the stereo feel. Now we're going to need to adjust and rebalance this, but that definitely gives us lots of feel. Let's just disable ToneSpot entirely. Actually, instead of disabling it, we will mute that section. And now if we bring it in, somewhere around here might work for us. Let's try it in context. That's done quite a nice job and given us a lot of character to the sound. Now it's interesting the way it sums to mono, considering it is a stereo effect plugin, but on something like a DI recorded bass it would work absolutely fine. In this instance, our workaround of giving it our own dedicated mid channel just means when we come to mono compatibility, we're very much already in the right ballpark. So all in all, nice plugin, give us some good sounds and effects to work on bass lines. And obviously we can use it, abuse it on all kinds of other sounds as well. I hope the video was helpful for you guys, and I will see you on the next one.